for this. So this event is co-organized by UNEP, UN Secretary General's Working Group on Transforming Extractive Industries for Sustainable Development, including UN SCAPs in collaboration with the Climate Champions team. But without further ado, I would now request my colleague, Mr. Mujahirul Alam Babu, known as Babu, our Regional Coordinator Climate Action, for the welcome remarks. Over to you, Babu.
I think so. Okay, thank you. Let me start with welcoming you with the word of good noon. We're supposed to start in the morning, so we lost 15 minutes. Dear distinguished speakers, the participants, it is an honor for me to be here today to address a topic of great significance, and it's critical to achieving a just energy transition, as my colleague mentioned, the critical minerals. This topic has become increasingly relevant in our collective effort to combat climate change and advance the transition to cleaner and renewable energies, a path that we all need to embrace, with the critical mineral playing a vital role in our journey. In terms of the importance, the first and the foremost, it is essential to understand that the critical minerals that we are talking about. We are talking about minerals such as lithium, the copper, the cobalt, the nickel, and many others. These minerals play a fundamental role in the manufacturing of the key technologies ranging from the batteries, the solar panels, as well as the wind turbine. Their significance lies in being the backbone of the electric mobility, and many countries in the region are basically embracing on, as well as they constitute the essential components such as the lithium-ion batteries that are used in the electric vehicles. They are also critical for energy storage systems, which are vital for processing towards reducing our dependence on the fossil fuel, thereby driving the transition to more sustainable energy sources is very important. According to the World Bank, the world would require over 3 billion tons of minerals and the metals to deploy the necessary technologies and to limit the global warming level to below 2 degrees Celsius by the mid of this century. This underscored the magnitude of the task and the urgency that we need to address in the issue of use and the mining of the critical minerals. And let me just mention why this region is important when we are talking about the critical minerals. The 70% of the global mining output is processed and consumed in the member countries of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation. Over 70% of the world's lithium and rare earth materials and over 70% of the copper, the natural graphites, and the nickel are mined and processed in the APEC countries, where the China is playing a dominating the role. Beyond the mineral processing, mining represents a key sector for the APEC on trade, with about 75% of all global mining, trade, and investment taking place in this region. So this region is very important, the way that we are going to move forward and supporting the just energy transition. And these materials has led to the formation of the new alliance and the partnership. And the major mineral consuming nations have instituted the supranational strategies to strengthen the relationship and build the alliance with the countries in the region. For example, the Mineral Society Partnership, the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework as an example. Within that, the mining and the processing, the circular economy also plays a critical role in ensuring the critical mineral supply in APEC countries. Although e-waste in Asian nation reached 3.5 billion tons in the 2019 and constitute to grow, the market is also expected to evolve to incorporate circular supply chain. The market is also expected to evolve to incorporate circular supply chain, and by 2050, according to the Wood Mackenzie's estimate, that 42% of aluminum will be sourced from the scrap compared to the 26% in the 2022. Similarly, recycling of the lithium could be comprises of 39% of the market by mid of this century. So we are seeing this is also going to play a critical role, how we are embracing the circularity. In this context, it is not only the fundamental to address the issue of localizing the value chain, but also to secure the localized supplies of the critical mineral by promoting circular economy. We need strategies that not only harness the economic benefit, but also minimize the negative impacts on the environment and the society. In the coming years, the world will witness a significant increase in the demand of these minerals, and the Asia and the Pacific region has the opportunity to lead these changes. We must implement social and environmental safeguard, foster the inclusive space for multi-sectoral engagement, and promote strategic cooperation. Let us remember that our approach should not only be the economic, but also the sustainable and the equitable. I hope that the discussion that we are going to have with the panel speaker, we will be hearing more, and they will be inspiring us how to address the critical minerals and make it more sustainable in the issue of the just energy transition. With that, I thank you all, and I welcome you to this session. Parimita, over to you. You need to switch on. Yes.
I'd also like to thanks to all those online participants for being there, and we are expecting to have more participants online soon. Now next, I would request Mr. Sangmin Nam, Director, Environment and Development Division, UNESCAP, for the presentations. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Could you put my slide? Okay. Babu already explained about the context of critical minerals. So, and then my presentation will focus on two elements. One is maybe presenting some visual information about what he already spoke to you. The second part is a brief introduction of UN Secretary General's working groups on transforming extractive industries. Next slide, please. So this is installed capacity of both renewables and also the annual increase of electric cars. It's not accumulated figures. It is an annual installation. So we have seen this rapid increase of annual installation of especially solar. And then also wind, despite there is some less progress during 2021 and 2022. Now it is also catching up. But most importantly, when it comes to critical minerals, we have to also look at these electric vehicles. So this year, we are expecting more than 10 million cars sold in the market globally. Of course, in this process, China is leading. And this is also accompanied with the expansion of critical minerals. So before, copper and only small parts of critical minerals were used, but now, especially from 2010, with a rapid increase of renewables and then electric vehicles, we have seen in terms of volume and variety of critical minerals. So look at this, from 2010, we have seen, especially this shows 36 major critical minerals that are a key part of this transition, both in transport and energy. And the process, so look at first one, there's a transport, EV, and then conventional cars. So in terms of critical minerals, the electric vehicles are using more than 6 times of the critical minerals being used in the conventional cars. And also when it comes to wind and solar power, compared with the solar, coal, and natural gas, the variety of critical minerals and the volume of critical minerals are far, we cannot really compare the size and also the variety of critical minerals. So this is the current picture, and then it's going to be further accelerated in terms of volume. And this also certainly resulted in increasing the global demand of the minerals. Also, the share of electricity renewables in expanding the global demand of lithium, nickel, and cobalt, and many other critical minerals. And another major concern that we have is, of course, the heavy concentration of those critical minerals in small countries. And less than 20 countries are dominating most of the critical minerals. And also very small number of countries are dominating processing. Also, this upstream part. And then geopolitics, we haven't seen the impact of geopolitics on supply chain. And so, and also we have seen the social and environmental impacts of a high demand of critical minerals on local communities in a few countries. So this is really concern of a political concern and social environmental concerns. In this connection, so of course, energy transition, we are highlighting energy transition in the context of addressing, mitigating, and tackling climate change. But we also look at energy transition to address energy poverty, and also energy security is a key element of energy transition. But to secure this, and then to secure this in a sustainable manner, so we have to be able to manage the demand for critical energy transition material. And Babu also mentioned about this circular economy. So this requires also radical shift in resource management throughout its entire value chain, from upstream to downstream. And also making this, circular economy concept should be key elements of this process. And we also see that there's an interdependency of various options. And while we have to scale up the supply of critical minerals, we have to be mindful about mitigating and managing other socio-economic impacts. So we need a careful consideration of a trade-off and different priorities. Also, global society should pay attention to needs and opportunities for LDCs and many other developing countries, low-income countries, that could be a supplier of critical minerals. So in that regard, I would like to just briefly speak about the UN Secretary General's working group on transforming extractive industries, which consist of four major roles or goals: coordinate extractive industries. And of course, before, we have seen the socio-economic implication and the impact of this industry, but mostly it's related to trade and then related to localized impact. But now we are really looking at these key elements for our achieving our climate goal, and then in a way to achieve the climate goal to support the critical mineral, the energy transition. In that regard, so UN needs to play its role. So this is the one part. And also serve as an information and knowledge hub to scale up and replicate the best practices and provide the policy advice and technical assistance, not only the industry per se, but stakeholders around that industry. And the last point is assist in integrating work on extractive industry into other UN-wide initiatives. And we are, so with this coordination, as Babu mentioned, so this is being led by Secretary General, and then also key partner, members of this working group is all regional economic commissions and UNEP and UNDP. So our joint work is expected to develop this knowledge hub and UN toolkit and UN framework on just transition for critical energy transition minerals. So those knowledge output will come out early next year. Also, we will engage and support LDCs and LLDCs. So this is my brief introduction to our working group. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Sangmin. Thank you so much, Babu. You have already set the tone for the next session, which is a panel discussions. And I'm really glad and excited to moderate this panel discussions because we have an excellent panel and consisting from different multidisciplinary background and with lots of experience on critical minerals. So I'm really excited for that. And now I would like to call upon all the panelists one by one. Karma Dorji Jimba, Assistant Environment Officer, Department of Environment and Climate Change, Bhutan. Then Kai Sin Lim, Co-Focal Point, Malaysian Youth Delegation. Joshi Devani, USAID South Asia Regional Energy Partnership Program. Kapil Narula, Senior Analyst, Climate Champions Team. And Dr. Nandakumar Janardhan, Deputy Director and South Asia Regional Coordinator, IJS. Thank you so much to all of you for being in this session. So this panel discussion is going to be for around 30-35 minutes. So each of the panelists would have around 6 minutes to give your view and remark. And what I will do, I'll start with one panelist, and of course, I'll direct some of the questions based on your experience and your expertise. Maybe you can refer and give your view on that. And towards the end, we will have a question and answer sessions. So I'll start with you, Karma. I mean, of course, you are from Bhutan, and we know that Bhutan is a carbon negative country, and it has already achieved the net zero target, and lots of its energy is coming from hydro. But at the same time, you also have some very good mining policies, programs. So it would be interesting actually to hear from you the overview of different policies or best practices that has been considered in Bhutan and how you see the critical minerals in the context of energy transition.
Thank you so much. And good morning to, I think it's not good morning, good afternoon to everyone. So, as rightly mentioned, Bhutan is carbon negative country, and also we use hydro energy, which is renewable energy. And in terms of critical minerals resources, I want to say that there are few critical mineral resources, but that cannot be extracted because of the geographical location and the quantity of minerals that are present in the deposit. So first of all, let me talk the organizational structure of the of our ministry or our what we call the department that deals with mineral resources and energy resources. So first, we have Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources. Under that, the core department that deals with mineral resources is Department of Geology and Mine. And also we have another department that deals with energy, and it is Department of Energy. So, so under that, again, under the same ministry, we have Department of Environment and Climate Change and Department of Forest and Park Services, who regulates the environmental compliance. So if mining sites and mineral resources extracted are according to what our Bhutanese environmental law says or not, these are regulated by the Department of Environment and Climate Change and Department of Forestry. So now let me talk some of the legal instruments that are present in Bhutan that supports mineral resources. First, we have Mines and Mineral Management Act of Bhutan, 1995. So the government tried to amend this in 2020, but they could not amend it, so it is not amended, but still 1995 is functioning. Then we have Mines and Minerals Management Regulation of 2022. We had 2002, but it is amended in 2022. And next we have Economic Development Policy. So in Economic Development Policy, there is one clause that states that the mineral resources in Bhutan should be extracted or developed according to mineral development policy of Bhutan. So after enacting or endorsement of the economic development policy in 2013, the government came up with mineral development policy of Bhutan 2017. So this is the core policy that deals with mineral resources in Bhutan. Now, there are also some one guideline, Mineral Resources Development Plan, which is also functional. And these are the legal instrument that supports mineral development in Bhutan. So the aim of these policies are just to have a vibrant mineral sector in Bhutan, and also to have reap maximum benefit, also considering the environmental impact of it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Bhutan, during the mineral prospecting survey conducted by Department of Geology and Mine, has found that there are some critical minerals like copper, zinc, and all, also iron, but they have found that the deposits are in very less quantity. And this shows that the extraction of these minerals is not quite possible in Bhutan. So only one mineral that is extracted in Bhutan, metallic minerals extracted in Bhutan is iron ore. The low-grade iron ore mining site is functional in Bhutan. Now, although we do not have metallic minerals, but we have non-metallic minerals extracted in Bhutan like gypsum, dolomite, quartzite and all, and this is consumed in Bhutan as well as exported to our neighboring countries like India and Bangladesh. So now, for your information, I just want to talk some few salient features of Mineral Development Policy of Bhutan 2017. So this policy is aimed at creation of a vibrant mineral sector in Bhutan, mining and mineral sector in Bhutan, and also following the concept of gross national happiness. So the policy also outlines the importance of conserving environment while extracting the minerals and also carrying out mining activities. The one good feature of this policy is that it states that the mining industry, any mining industry that operates within the community has to have a community development fund. They have to support the community that they are operating within them. So for example, if it is operated in one small village, they have to support that village. And also, usually they float a share. So at least the policy outlines that at least minimum of 10% of the share should be provided to that community. This is one good point outlined in this policy. And environmental conservation. They also have mention of environmental impact of the mining activities, and we have to have some management of that mining sites to have a good environment within that area. And incentives. There also reflects the incentives of mining sites. How the incentives will be provided. So the incentives for the mining industry will be provided in the form of tax if they follow the environmental standards and regulation of Bhutan, and if it satisfies the Department of Environment and Climate Change as well as Department of Geology and Mine. Now the next is the policy also states that they want to have some of the mining industry that are financially as well as technically sound to invest in that business, mining industries. Because some of the mining industry do not have technical capacity, some do not have financial capacity. So Bhutan wants to make sure that both the technical as well as financial capacity is there to operate mines. And also for foreign direct investment programs, they want to have some of the companies that are certified, environmentally certified. Environmental certifications are provided. So those companies who have environmental certifications, and if they want to have joint venture in Bhutan, they will be provided the preference to have joint venture in mining operations in Bhutan. So these are some of the points that I want to share. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Karma. You have already touched actually some very interesting points related to policies. And one of the things, if I pick, it also talks about the community development funds. If some kind of mining or extraction happening, it's a very interesting initiatives or interventions. And that leads to my question to Kai Sin Lim. Because what we know that when the world is looking forward so much on critical minerals extractions in order to meet the net zero targets, the most important thing is how could we make sure that the inclusivity components are being taken care of? How should we make sure that the real benefits are going to people and the planet are not being environmentally degraded? So how could we make sure that the mining or the critical minerals extraction are done in a more sustainable manner? And how would we see the newer generation, the future generations are seeing this newer alternative way of job creations through critical minerals, mining, extraction, use of that in the clean energy transitions. So it would be nice to hear from you, Kai, if you can bring from the youth's perspective, and how do you think that the youth could be more empowered, and what would be your recommendations for use of critical minerals in the context of clean energy transition?
All right, thanks for the questions. So hi everyone, a bit introductions about me. I'm the co-focal of Malaysian Youth Delegations. And yeah, a bit about Malaysian Delegations is we did raise public awareness towards climate policies, and also we did a lot of capacity building for youth to attend to international conference. And I'm personally following the tracks of Just Transitions and Just Energy Transitions back in Bonn, and yeah, I'm going to go as well. So just a bit of the perspective of you about how to make sure the extractions of critical minerals, and also to ensure the Just Transitions pathway is equitable and inclusive. For me personally, because we talk about energy transitions a lot, but just showing ideas here is that we are not calling for just phase out the fossil fuel like today or even tomorrow. We are actually calling for a fair and equitable, just and inclusive roadmap to phase out fossil fuels with ambitious goals and immediate actions. So I agree that transitions away from fossil fuel need it actually integrating the increased demands of critical minerals and also increase of mining activities. So I want to bring up the concept of just, fair, equitable, and inclusive, because this is actually the main thing. And so from my perspective, from youth perspective as well, this is like the main thing that we really have to emphasize on, especially in the development of all of the plans and all of the policies and all of the esteemed speakers have been brought up. So first, with Just Transitions, we have to make sure that the Just Transitions towards sustainable mining in the mining industry, youth must have a voice in the decision-making process with a focus on responsible and also sustainable practice. I think the concept of circular economy has been mentioned a lot of times, and it actually really can help with mitigating the environmental impacts. And also another thing that we have to really consider in the Just Transitions is to address the historical injustice that have been disproportionately affected the marginalized communities in the mineral-rich regions. So it's very important for us to uphold accountability and also preventing the exploitations of workers, and also ensuring the land use rights are properly acquired. So this is for the just part. And for the fair part is we want to, actually it's echo with the Just Transitions as well. We have to uphold the human rights principle in these transitions, and we have to ensure in the mining sector, we have to ensure the safe working conditions and also preventions of labor exploitations, and also respect the right of indigenous people and minority peoples. And and simultaneously, environmental sustainability must be at the forefront of the critical minerals practice, and with a focus of minimizing environmental impacts, implementing of robust remediation measures, and also actively participating in the restorations of the affected ecosystem. Because we know the side effect of mining activities, right? It actually causes a lot of side effects to the environment, and somehow it lives with an abandoned mining site. So that's the thing that we have to take into consideration while we're having, and so like in the prior stage of the mining activities. And the third part, which is the equitable opportunities, this is actually and very aligned with you and very related with you, is because we have to have the equitable opportunities for you in the critical mineral mining sector to have the skill and development training focused on, just I have been mentioned, the environmental sustainability and how to enhance the social protections in the process. And it actually is very essential for young individuals to be expertise in in this kind of technical knowledge, is because we are the future leaders, and we are actually having a lot of passions in delving into this sector. But it's just that we have to have a proper training and the proper knowledge acquired. That's how we can align our innovative solutions with the technical knowledge we have. And this last part I want to mention is about the inclusive engagements, which means that in fostering inclusive engagement, it is very imperative to provide a youth with dedicated space where the rich tapestry of local culture, traditions, and value is not only acknowledged, but is also valued and respected. Because we have been discussing all the innovative ideas and all of the research we have been doing. So it's very important for us to really acknowledge that that land, that culture that already have been there, and how we can enhance the culture and the environment that has been there, and also bring up the whole new trend of critical minerals extraction there. So we have to strive a balance between economy, and also we have to strive balance between economy and also just transitions and also social protections and environmental protections. By championing all these principles, right? I think for us, especially youth leaders, can be more and can have more opportunities and more fair chance to contribute to the transitions, not only addressing the urgent need for critical minerals, but also ensures that the benefits are shared justly, fairly, inclusively across all the communities, with a focus of sustainable development for future generations.
Thank you so much for bringing so many interesting points. I definitely like the equitable and the inclusivity component what you brought in. And the point what you said, that youth should get a chance in the decision-making table to put their views. It's so important in the context of critical minerals for the energy transition. And how could we take care of the just component within the energy transition itself is so important. So thank you so much for bringing those important aspects. So we hear from a youth voice. Now let's go to hear from the technological or the innovation side, because we also there are lots of research and discussions going on that while critical minerals extraction is important, it's going on, but at the same time, can we also take care of the recycling of the materials as much as possible and use those recycled materials? Or is there any alternate materials that's available which may require or which can be used for renewable energy manufacturing and production, but may not need those critical minerals used to the extent it is expected? So the question is there any alternative solution available is there and where the research are, where the innovations are. So in that context, Josie, I will come to you, and my question to you is, what are the efforts being pursued to ensure innovations in alternate material and technologies for reducing the dependency on rare materials? Over to you.
Thank you. Such a wonderful discussion. And before answering the question, just I would like to set up the context and right to answer your question. But this is a very complex topic to deal with. In the sense, like we need experts from all the facets of the society, coming from the social aspects, coming from the governance aspect, coming from the technology aspect. And for such a complex issues to address, again, we are talking about just energy transition and how these critical minerals or how can we ensure the just energy transition in this pathway. So one very important context-setting presentations showed that the increasing adoption of renewables and electric vehicles are seen as a major driver. But also I feel like the allocation of the critical or the rare materials also has to make sure where we are allocating them in terms of like for what right usage we are using it. Like always maybe focusing on electric vehicles for the lithium ores, how we are allocating in the sense, because like the market kind of drives it, but we also should ensure how the local people or how the vulnerable people are being using these technologies for their best use rather than always going for a high-end users of the materials. So that is one aspect I would like to bring to the table for the discussion. The other one is we also should ensure life cycle assessment based or system thinking based approach when we come to deal with these kind of issues, because maybe we kind of keep focus on one particular area and maybe addressing one problem, but it is kind of rerouting to a different problem. So when we try to address these kind of issues from a life cycle perspective, how it is being used, how it is being generated, and how it is being discarded, that kind of gives us a complete picture, and resources being very limited, we need to judiciously use them. So this kind of approach also has to be duly considered. The other aspect we discussed about, like what are the alternate materials, what kind of technologies we have to not to put the pressure or burden on these kind of limited materials in terms of using the technologies. So suppose the battery technologies that we are seeing, has been a lot of research going into it in the academic lens. But like how effectively we are bringing those research into adoption, how effectively we are giving the scope for testing and trying them, and bringing those breakthrough technologies to ensure the pressure on these critical minerals is reduced. And one more important aspect we need to consider is also in terms of design. So the material efficiency comes out in terms of the design approach as well. It's not just the alternate materials we are looking for, but also even with the materials that we have, what kind of design enhancements we can do in terms of bringing those technologies to bring out the material efficiencies to bring the same performance with a lower material usage. So there's a couple of points I wanted to bring at this point. We at SARP, at the South Asia Regional Energy Partnership, we collaborate with the regional countries to kind of cohesive geopolitical environment in terms of these mineral usages and extractions, and also bring the new and innovative technologies in forms of piloting them, bring the innovations from academia to practice and to the industry, and how we can scale them up so that we are ensuring this just transition, not just at an individual and silos level, but at a regional partnership level, and taking cross learnings from each other. Maybe I will add this point for the discussion and I'll go forward.
Thank you so much, Josie. I mean, one of the point what you said is life cycle assessments is important. It's so important, and of course, the recent I'm going to some of the articles which says that I mean, with the research going on earlier, if the critical minerals extractions from the existing solar panel was of 10%, 20%, but now with different kind of techniques and innovations, even 65 to 70% of those materials are possible. I mean, that could be one of the possibility of thinking in the system thinking, what you mentioned, and the design optimizations and life cycle assessments, and see how best we can extract those materials and use it again. So it's also a part of the circular economy things what both Sangin and Babu has mentioned, and that's so important. So now from best practices to youth to technology, now we will move to policies. And I know both Kapil and Anand Kumar are so much engrossed in several kinds of policies, discussions in critical minerals in the context of green energy transitions. So I'll go to you, Kapil, first, and then to Dr. Nand Kumar. But I know, Kapil, you have been involved so actively on G20 discussions, deliberations, and recently you also led a G20 policy brief on ensuring sustainable supply of critical minerals for a clean, just, and inclusive transition. So from that perspective, if you can just bring some of your experience on the key challenges, what you see in this supply of critical minerals, and what are the solutions or key recommendations that you can give as a guidance.
Thank you, Paramita, and thank you to the organizers for inviting me, and also to Mr. Raju and Dr. Lam, for setting the scene, because that's the key to understanding why are we facing such a renewed interest in critical minerals. I also would like to refer to them as energy transition minerals, because that's these minerals are essential because we are looking at a clean energy transition. And I'll highlight some 6 to 8 points, which are some of the key challenges which we observed in this policy brief, which was actually led by our 10 authors from UN SCAP, UN ECE, also with ESWA, CAPSAR, IASD, and EITI. And in that, we highlighted some of the key challenges, and the first one was the high mineral intensity of clean energy transition. So as was shown by Dr. Nam, that the energy intensity in terms of tons of material used for clean energy technologies, be it batteries, be it wind turbines or hydro plants for generators and so on, is about 3 to 6 times of power plants which are fossil fuel. And when you multiply this high energy intensity or mineral intensity with the increasing demand of renewable energy, you get a value which is actually reflecting the high demand of critical minerals. And this is growing exponentially because of the global clean energy transition. And therefore, we are looking at the increasing supply-demand gap of critical minerals. And some numbers and assessment indicate that there is a requirement of about 40 to 60 times of the annual supply of some of the critical minerals, such as nickel, cobalt, copper, and so on. And this increasing supply-demand gap is because supply is growing exponentially, and development of infrastructure for mining takes a minimum of 10 years, if not more. And that starts with first exploration, then identifying which minerals are there, then looking at developing infrastructure, building mining extraction capabilities, processing, and so on. And this is not a one-day job. This requires a lot of investment in millions and billions. And unlike setting up a solar plant, mining is very, very resource intensive, financially resource intensive. And because of these inadequate investments, this is leading to increased price and volatility in mineral prices. And if you see it over the past 2-3 years, you will see a U kind of a curve for pricing of both critical minerals such as cobalt and lithium. And this is driven partly by inadequate investment, exponentially increasing demand, but also some of the support mechanisms which are funded by the governments to increase the uptake of, for example, batteries. When that incentives are taken out, then the demand again falls back. And this cycle continues. And this is not good for the industry, because there needs to be clear price signals so as to for industry to invest in this long-term infrastructure building capabilities. The other issue is, it was pointed out by Dr. Nam about the high concentration of supply in several countries. And incidentally, the HHI index, which is the Hirschman index, which shows how concentrated the supply of a particular resource is much higher than fossil fuels. So actually, we are restricted in terms of both raw materials as well as the processing capability, which can be actually counted to a limited countries, a number of countries, say 5 to 10 or maximum 15 odd countries for each mineral. And this increases the supply chain vulnerability, and also is being used as a geopolitical tool by several countries. And you would have heard at a snap of a finger, countries ban export of critical minerals, which leads to several price shocks in the market. As it is, there is not a transparent functional market of critical minerals. The next issue which I would like to touch upon is the social and environmental impacts of critical minerals and mining in particular, plus how we monitor some of the mining sites. And while the implications on the social implications such as artisanal mining or gender issues in mining are paramount and are of increasing concern, there are environmental impacts such as leaching into groundwater, and because these are dangerous minerals, and the processing of these minerals is leading with chemical treatment. And at the end, how do we monitor what these companies are doing? Is there a mechanism to do this at site? What is the capacity of the governments or organizations to undertake this kind of monitoring? The second last point which I would like to point on the challenges is about increasing corruption and public finance risks in the mining sector. And the issue of price discovery of natural resources. What are the mechanisms by which we discover prices? Should we rely on opening mining industry to private industry and looking for bids for developing these mines? And what are the benchmarks for pricing of these natural resources? And in many of these countries have weak governance structures, especially in Africa, in certain other Asian countries also. So what are the stopgap arrangements or stopback arrangements for countries to look at these challenges? And lastly, another big challenge is that we see that there is some kind of emergence of a critical minerals club. And this is a geopolitical development where certain countries have looked, or early movers have entered into partnerships, have entered into bilateral or multilateral agreements with countries which are which have these mineral resources, or which are controlling technologies for processing these minerals. And therefore we see that many of the countries who are actually holding these minerals are left out of the development strategies. And actually the money does not flow back, because you extract minerals, which is raw materials, process it in some other country, and ship back the goods after processing into these countries. And therefore, this concern of geopolitics entering and the critical minerals club emerging is also one of the major issues which we found in the challenges. I think I'll stop here and hand over to Dr. Zanardhan to look at some of the solutions to these challenges.
And if I may add, for Dr. Nandakumar, along with the recommendations, maybe anything additional from the G7 policy briefs, if you can also bring that, and in addition to that, what is your view, and how does ITES contribute to the debates on critical minerals? So along with the recommendations, if you can also bring these points, that would be excellent.
Thank you so much, Paramita, and thanks a lot to the organizers for inviting us. It's a great pleasure to be here. Most of the points have already been discussed by panelists, so different aspects have already been covered. And I want to specifically touch upon the points Kapil has raised. The point which he raised at the last one, which is sort of how certain countries are trying to align or sort of shape some sort of a mineral club, which has certain positive impacts in the industry, but also has got some negative side of emerging into a sort of a cartel formation. And this is something which these countries probably will have to be mindful about. But at the same time, this mineral club or similar initiatives are taken by G7 countries, as you also mentioned. This is sort of been looked at by the G7 countries, and the recent G7 summit has specifically mentioned about building some sort of mineral club or mineral partnership. In terms of other aspects, Kapil has mentioned social and environmental issues. There is a serious concern about the environmental spillover, because most of these resources which are extracted from producing countries are taken elsewhere and used elsewhere for the energy transition, but the problems are left at the source country. And many times there are inadequate legal frameworks or policy institutions to address the environmental concerns which these producing countries are facing. I think that is a place where some sort of collaboration has to really work. And another point which I feel that, specifically looking at the supply perspective, it's interesting to note that about, I have some useful figures here. It says that about 20% of the total mineral supply, critical mineral supply, can actually come from recycling. So this is one of the very important area. I know that recycling is not a silver bullet solution for this. But at the same time, if 20% of supplies can actually come from recycling until the time like 2050, then that definitely needs attention. And it not only needs attention in terms of policy measures, but also sort of technology solutions and best practices, which are prevalent in certain places, will have to be shared in a common platform. And maybe another interesting point here is that Asia is sort of producing the largest e-waste in the world. And the kind of growth rate the e-waste production in Asia encounters is something more than any other waste production growth. So this is something, a key aspect, especially coming to Asian region. And in 2019 alone, there were about 24.9 million tons of e-waste produced. And interestingly, the recovery rate is very low in this. So probably this is one of the areas where not only the countries but also sort of international organizations will have a say, and using their convening power, they could actually sort of push forward the agenda of sort of recycling. And another issue which is sort of interest to all of us, and thanks Kapil for mentioning that about the geopolitical vulnerabilities of critical minerals looked at. So most of the points are already discussed here, but I would stop here, and if there is a second round of question, I will take that. Thank you so much.
Thank you both, Kapil and Nandakumarji. I mean, you brought so many important points through challenges and recommendations as well. I mean, few of the important points what Kapil brought in was, of course, the high mineral intensity, the supply-demand gap, which is probably going to also increase, and which is also impacting the price point of renewables, and then how the projects are going to be and the business models are going to be evolved around that also are so dependent, and then the supply chain vulnerability components. So these are few of the challenges or issues that needs to be addressed, and it's also interesting to hear about the critical mineral club or the geopolitics, and we all know that it's happening, and how probably more collaborations, cooperations between countries and between organizations that needs to be established to address few of those challenges, and maybe also to see how the benefits will go or being shared equitably. So that's going to be an important thing, and we need to have more collaborations on that aspect. Recycling definitely is one of the issue, I mean, that needs to be, and at the same time, and opportunities. And recycling and e-waste management is something that needs to be taken care of, and more attention is definitely needed, specifically for Asia region. And specifically the recycling also, I would say that it's important because this is the region where we have to, I mean, currently the renewable energy contribution in the overall energy mix is somewhere around 20-25%, and by 2050 we need to expand it to 75% if we have to achieve the net zero targets, and that's the sustainable energy scenarios what says. So if we have to triple the manufacturing, productions and implementations, definitely recycling is going to play a big role on that, along with other things what we have discussed. But maybe I know we are already passing the time, and maybe I'll not summarize myself, but I would request all the panelists, maybe if you have to recommend or propose one thing, what would be your last one-liner to this audience, to these sessions, which can be taken up in future? So maybe this time I'll start with you, Nandakumar.
Thank you so much. I'll actually give maximum weightage to resource efficiency, and because the fact that resources are finite and we need to be mindful of its usage. So rather than exploring more and producing more, I would actually give importance to strategies and technologies that will ensure resource efficiency. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Kapil?
I would like to highlight, equity, value addition in countries where minerals are mined, so shifting, processing and manufacturing into those countries. And third, that the benefit should actually accrue to the communities which are involved in mining as well as which are impacted by this mining. Thank you.
Thank you. Josie?
Yeah, so I will echo with what Kapil has said, and just to tweak the perspective. Where I'm saying is like, to what end use we are allocating. Is there any end use allocation policy, or we are just leaving it to a market-based evolving mechanism? Like said, the same lithium is used for maybe electric vehicles, high-end cars. A lot of it is needed, but at the same other end, maybe a vulnerable community needs some solution, storage solution to get access to clean energy. Is that allocation done in a very equitable way, or is there any thought process to be given in that direction? That's where I want to emphasize.
Thank you. Kai Sin Lim.
Yeah, okay. I think a lot of our panelists here have been mentioned about we have to take care about the communities and make sure it's like just fair, equitable, and inclusive. So as a youth representations, I want to emphasize on youth participations in this journey as well. So I really hope that we can have an open door, and we want to enhance like two-way communication between all the stakeholders and also you, to let you be part of the solutions. And because we have a lot of innovative solutions, but at the same time, we want to know like what your plan is, and what's your holistic of the whole plans, and also what's the protocol of what we can participate in this journey. Yeah, that's all for me.
Thank you. Karma.
Just I want to say that we all are aware that critical minerals are mandatory for the energy transition. So what I want to say is that for the extraction and better management of the mineral resources, every country needs favorable legal instruments so that the environmental and community impacts is minimized.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all of you for such an exciting and so much informative discussions. Thank you so much to all the panelists. And now maybe I will not take much time, but I would request Babu to give the closing remarks. But a huge round of applause to all the panelists for bringing all this forward.
Thank you. I was about to basically say, let's give a round of applause to all the presenters who contributed very much in this, the critical mineral, the critical discussions. I'd like to just mention that this is a beginning and this is not the end, but it is very clear that in terms of addressing the just transition, which would require use of the critical minerals, we need to bring the science, we need to bring the policy, we need to bring the legislative framework, as well as the partnership. So if I bring all those things together, it gives me the impression that we need to be very inclusive in addressing the issues around the critical minerals, and which will drive the just energy transition that we are talking about. I'd like to thank all the speakers for providing their very insight information and the knowledge they have. And let's continue this conversation, and if you have any questions, please make use of their time here and have the discussion to continue. With that, I'd like to thank you all once again for joining us in this session. Thank you very much.